Hello! Welcome to Chapter 2
The Weirdo on Maple Street.
of Stranger Things.
Oh yeah, I should
Yeah,
have said that first.
we're watching that. So now we have 11 has met
Jeez,
up
so
with
insensitive.
our heroes. Jesus. I just love this kind of thing. One of the things I didn't mention I think we might have a little bit, but we'll talk about how this is also obviously in homage to stuff like Goonies as well. It's not just monster movies and stuff from the 80s, but like, stories that were kids, were like. See, okay, this is going to make me sound like a weird creep. And understand I'm saying this about me when I was a little boy,
Oh.
not now as a grown ass man, so just calm down, everyone. But I never had that thing, even as a little kid, where girls were gross. I never. No locked doors. I never had that thing. You know what I mean? Where that phase, that stage where boys don't like girls, and like they start discovering girls later on, or they start discovering boys. I never went through that. I can remember being in kindergarten and thinking that girl's cute. That girl's cute. Yeah, I'll hang out with her by the slides at recess.
Wow.
And I used to actually do that. I used to like, hey, you want to get together? Meet me by the slides at recess. We can get together, talk about stuff. I don't know. So, but this is me talking as of me when I was a little boy. I don't. And that hat falling off was an accident. They just went with it. I love that.
It's adorable.
I love it when they do little accidents like that. I mean, I don't know, maybe it was staged, but and they keep it in.
Mm-hmm.
I know Ridley Scott is like, Jesus Christ. I know Ridley Scott's notorious for that. There'll be people who will like trip and fall like in a scene they're shooting, and he'll just kind of motion with his hands, keep going, keep going. So, I like how they banter off each other really well too. By the way, like it feels very natural.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, I know it's all scripted. Just like still does that, but it feels like three kids this age, just having this conversation. Because I remember being this age, and
I love too that again, like they apparently have a big ass house, and the mom apparently literally never goes in, this downstairs room.
yeah, and it's one of I don't know, it's one of those things where you could chalk that up to that was kind of part of the fantasy of these kinds of movies in the 80s too, where it was
Yeah.
like, realistically, a lot of this stuff, the parents would find out,
Yeah.
or the parents would notice, but that was kind of part of the fantasy. Even as a kid, you used to like, you could create your secret clubhouse, your fort. I mean, I don't know if kids do that now anymore, but when I was growing up, we did,
They've
and we
got
kind
a
of
VR
felt.
fort. They don't go out in the real world.
Yeah, I guess not. But back then, we used to use our imagination. What is that, an app? No, kids. It's a life app. But where do I download that? Fuck off.
Wow.
No, but no, it was one of those things where, and that was part of the kind of the dream. We thought we would find something. We found a secluded place. We think, oh, this is ours. This is our secret spot. Anyone could find this. And every once in a while, our parents would be like, hey, you're supposed to be home an hour ago, and they would come stomping into our secret place. But we like to believe, and that we could find something that was ours. That we could have things that were
Yeah.
known only to us. That made us feel special. So I think that's why. I mean, yeah, who knows? It is a big ass fucking house, but probably realistically, yes, the mom would go down there and clean up and would find her there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's part of the charm of kind of this era is that kids in movies were allowed to believe that yes, they could be in on something that the adults couldn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was the fun of it. And because you kind of looked at life through the right now, it's giving us the option to skip the intro to that. I say fuck you.
Hell no.
Never. I will never skip this intro.
I know. It's so
But yeah,
good.
so for me, that's kind of the charm of it is like, what if you could have something that was really yours, and you and your friends could have a secret that your parents couldn't find out. That's part of the fun. Because realistically, if her mom came down there and found 11 right away, that'd be kind of the end of that.
And then we'd miss out on the rest of the awesomeness.
Yeah, that or 11 would just snap her neck. I don't know. But
Wah, wah.
that would have taken a darker turn.
Well, it's not such a stretch, though.
Yeah, well, at this point, considering how shell-shocked she is, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny. I always think of the intros longer than this.
I
It's
know.
really a short intro, but it's so cool
so
that
good.
I've seen this font used on so many movies. I'm sure that's why they did it, but I think
Like,
Carnosaur 2 used this font.
quintessentially 80s.
Well, I saw the 90. I think the last time I saw was Carnosaur 2, which was like 94. Hey kids, remember the Carnosaur movies?
They're like, we try not to. I'm just kidding.
They had some charm to them. Back when everyone smoked.
I know, right?
It's just strange to think, this is 1983. This would be like what? Like 33 years ago. I think, right? 2017, 1983, was that? No, I don't know. It's over 30 years, right?
Yeah, but
But I'm just saying it's strange because, well, I guess this aired in, 2016, technically, but it's just strange to think how long ago this actually is now. You think of the 80s, and I mean, because, well, I was in the 80s, I always kind of think to myself, like, it wasn't that long ago, because I remember it. Usually when I think of, like, a long time ago, I'll think, like, the 70s, the 60s, because, I wasn't around for it. But now it's like, God, the 80s were a while ago. It's like, again, this isn't really retro anymore. It really is a period piece. I'm like, but I'm not that old, and I'm only, and I'm like, oh, crap, I'm getting older. Funny, all the stuff with the phone and all that. It reminds me of Poltergeist, which obviously they name dropped in the last movie or the last episode, where where you could hear the girl and like all the appliances. So I like how it's he's manifesting, or you see signs of this other world when like stuff in our world starts like malfunctioning. And that's very
Yeah.
Poltergeist-esque, that kind of thing. Where ooh. I love his face right there.
I know.
Because obviously we don't know the backstory yet, but just something right there.
You can tell.
Yeah, but
You can tell he like tenses and
yeah, and
clenches
again,
his
I
jaw.
like how he doesn't have like a legit like reaction, but he just tenses up. It's kind of like it's almost like an abuse victim when there's a trigger or there's like they come across something that's associated with the abuse. You just see their whole body lock up. It's like, "Ugh," you know what I mean? I like how he plays it. Yeah, you're seeing a lot of like nervous tics,
Mm-hmm.
smoking and chewing. And he's like has like an oral fixation, and they even said too people who have kind of gone through like traumatic experiences, they have a lot of little.
That's assault. He just assaulted a civilian. I'm sorry about that voice. I'm really sorry.
I don't know. There's a lot of really nice subtle details into like characterization. I don't know. I know I bet
Into
stuff.
the dirty pockets.
You didn't care about germs back then.
I know.
Yeah, this is right out of Critters right there. They're kicking each other at the table. I think I love
Gosh,
what the
Mike is so pale. Sorry. She's like, gosh, she's so pale.
It's a white kid from Indiana. What do you expect? Or his character is anyway.
Yeah, but even compared to like everybody else.
Oh, maybe if this was taking place in Honolulu, it might be a bit more tan. But it's so weird again seeing Millie Bobby Brown here now. Oh, the moment where she discovers Legos. Her face right there.
She's like, hell no.
It's like, I like how she says it too. No. It's like, shut down, bro. I can see her like being like 22 at a bar, sitting down, having a drink, and a guy walks up to her, you know, hey, how you doing? My name is Tim. Here, I haven't seen you around here before. You know, can I buy you a drink? No. And then she snaps his neck. Again, I love how subtle she plays it. Like, it's so. I mean, people think stuff like this requires like no skill whatsoever. Oh, you just, nod your head, say a couple words. But I'm like, you got to realize the natural human, instinct is to kind of behave more. When you have like the absence of behavior, sometimes that's almost harder because you have to go against your natural inclination of how to react to something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's okay.
No, I was just gonna say though, it's strange now when you see Millie Bobby Brown do interviews. I think she recently turned 13, but she looks so much older. I mean, I know I said before, but it's weird because again, I'll see her now doing a lot of press because obviously season 2 of Stranger Things is coming out. So
she's got hair.
well, yeah, I mean it's still kind of short, but still, it's just so strange. She could easily play older. Not so much here, but now.
Yeah, but that's just girls in general. They
Well,
kind of mature faster, and they like.
I know,
both mentally and physically.
But it's just crazy when you see a show or a movie when you have like young actors. When you see like adults, okay, if this show goes over the course of like 4 or 5 years, for instance, these guys, they're not going to look that much different from the first season to the last. And I mean, they're pretty much, unless they do something dramatic to like their hair or whatever, they're going to look. These two are going to look the same. You know what I mean? This season and the last season. But because the kids are still growing up, it's strange because you see them and you literally watch them grow up on screen.
Yeah.
And they're at that age where they're growing up. They're growing up fast. Like a year can make a huge difference. God, she really does feel like she's 80s incarnate.
I know.
Classic. The party, no parents, yep. It's funny, he recently did a commercial that recreated the whole Ferris Bueller's Day Off scene where he's like running through all the backyards trying to get to his house before the principal does or whatever. And they had him play Ferris, or his part. And it sucks. It wasn't her playing Sloane. And I'm like, they should have got her to play Sloane. Because she literally looks like the actress who plays Sloane. Like, it's crazy. Daggers for eyes.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, really. I was just thinking there wasn't enough salt in this wound. I'm really curious to see how many careers this series is going to launch. I know obviously Billy Bobby Brown's doing really well. Some of those kids are really starting to get popular. Again, but these guys, these are great crop of young actors. Like, and again, I think it's too because they play it straight. They don't play it like we're playing '80s kids, so we got to do every '80s cliche in the book. They're playing it like kids who just happen to be, from 1983. Like, I remember those desks. We can just flashbacks and out of school.
Oh my god.
Damn.
I
Freaking
know.
harsh. But see, I like that. I like how they're not dumb nerfing these kids. They're like, no, they're
Well, I remember, I'm pretty sure I read that initially they had a lot more swearing all around, but they were only allowed to do so much, so they basically allotted it to be for the kids for the majority of it.
oh, like Netflix. Well, I guess it's a weird thing because again, Netflix isn't airing TV, but they're probably still trying to toe the line a little bit.
Yeah.
But honestly, it makes sense that it'd be for the kids
Mm-hmm.
because honestly, kids swear more than adults in actuality. That's the thing because kids just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, where adults like, oh, we shouldn't say this in this setting, or it wouldn't be proper here. As soon as the parents go out the room, it's like freaking.
Right?
I like how you can see she's
I always forget he's got a younger sister.
for her it's probably so strange too because her whole idea of a family dynamic is not like you know what I mean.
I know.
For her, it's all about functionality. Like, she needs to be functional to be kind of cared for. If she fails, she's automatically punished. So for her, the idea of just kind of unconditional love is probably very alien to her.
Yeah.
Like how tense she is, though.
I know.
She's not comfortable being comfortable because she's never been allowed to be comfortable.
Yeah.
But she takes it pretty quickly. Ah,
She's so adorable.
I know, and I love how sweet this is. It's like, again, she's a little girl still. You know, I mean, she has this ability that can do dangerous things, but she doesn't have the instinct for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's funny, this scene coming up right here reminds me of me and my older cousin. He and I were basically raised as brothers. So whenever I would go to France to visit, I'd stay in his room, and he would he would play all like his music for me. So I would get to hear the cooler like older kid music. So that's where I discovered like the Prodigy and a lot of like really like kind of edgy '90s like techno, underground like house music and stuff through him. He's actually the one who got me into heavier music. I remember when he first introduced me to Korn. I just let me listen to the record, and he bought me my first Korn record, "Follow the Leader," and that just started my journey down the rabbit hole. And now I'm listening to Bloodbath and Cannibal Corpse, Once Human, super heavy stuff. But yeah, no, it all started with this older family member who I looked up to, still do. And just I remember the moments we would just at night we would just sit in his room with the headphones on. We would just listen to all this music, that. And every time there'd be a new song that'd be released, he would get it and we'd check it out. It was just so cool because I kind of really looked up to him. So I wanted to be a lot like him. So I was like, well, if he's listening to it, it must be cool.
Yeah.
Big ups to Philippe. It's funny, you see these small towns like that, and you can tell that nothing ever goes on. But when a show comes to film here, I'm wondering what it's
Yeah.
because it's actually I looked up, I forget the name of the town. It's in Georgia though, and yeah, this is the town. This isn't a set or anything.
Yeah.
So this would in fact be a real store and all that. Back when that would have been a lot of money.
I was gonna say that's still kind of a lot of money for a phone. Like nowadays, you can get a phone for like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, but who honestly has a landline really nowadays? I mean,
Well, I guess yeah, but
oh, were you?
I just love.
Get him.
I don't know.
Get him.
It's just funny though, because nowadays they would never do this. I mean, maybe if you had like a small, private, or not private, but like family-owned type store, but still, it's like.
I feel for her because we've worked in like shitty day jobs. I know how this is when you bust your ass for a job and then you need a favor and they're like, well, like listen here, asshat.
I know.
You go, girl. No, I don't know. It's I've always been curious when you see like, these small towns that get like these shoots, but they kind of put them on the map though now because that's the thing. Because this show is such a breakout hit that now this is the town where they shoot Stranger Things.
Look at those sexy galoshes.
I know, right? I just love the eerie vibe to it too. This whole thing, it's
I
just
know.
because like, everything looks so normal. You know what I mean? But there's something off because something happened here. It almost kind of creates like a haunting feeling, like I don't mean like in paranormal, but this like there's like a vibe that haunts it now, and it's just you add just that little bit of music to it, it just seals it.
That? Got some upside down goop. By the way, I didn't realize it till we obviously watched the last episode again, but I'm like, do we see the dog again the entire series? I don't think we do. Because I forgot they even had a dog.
I don't know actually. Little ET
She's like,
moment.
you ain't seen nothing.
And the first part of that roar is Godzilla's roar, but because they couldn't get the rights to it, they probably just didn't do the
Cut
end.
it short.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I had all the dinosaur toys too, so that's exactly what I'd be showing her. Check out my sweet dinosaur collection. I just love how they're science nerds. I love that about these guys.
That's the thing. Oh, I know.
You were saying? He's got trailed off there.
I was gonna say, like, I forget, did she actually see him?
I think she sensed him, or kind of maybe, you know what I mean? Because she's been connected to the other side, so the upside down.
That
Dark Crystal. I know. Every time I see that poster, like, God, that is a beautiful fucking poster. Look at that. But yet, that's never the cover of any of the releases. Like,
such a shame.
I know. I've got
God, their house is giant.
back then. The funny thing is, now that house nowadays would be so expensive. A house that big. But no, we have this nice, beautiful Blu-ray steelbook of the Dark Crystal just off to our left, and it doesn't have that cool cover. I love covers of like movies and stuff in the '80s. It looks so cool, and I love the cover they did for this. That's honestly one of the things too that made us want to watch it too. Like I was saying, is just the way. Like, why does that look like this cool '80s, throwback VHS cover? And then we watched it like, oh well, that's why. That's kind of the whole point of it.
Poor Elle.
I know. Now we kind of get a look of what happened, or kind of her life back at the research facility. And there's something so perverse about having him call her call him Papa. Again, for her, this was family. Like, if you didn't please them, if you disappointed them, it was just punishment. So your whole life was just not messing up. You know what I mean? For fear of punishment. So the idea of someone being kind to her, just be kind to her, and she doesn't have to perform a task or do anything. You know what I mean? Like, we take that kind of thing for granted, but people who have been in especially like abusive relationships, kids who are maybe early on they're in abusive households, and they get out of it and they're adopted by new families. I've heard stories of like, it's not, you would think, oh, it's great, they're out of there, they're surrounded by a loving family, happily, they live happily ever after, but it's years for them to adjust to that because they're so conditioned to be afraid. And if they make a mistake, they get so scared because they think they're going to be punished, and it takes a long time for them to kind of get out of it. For some people, they never fully do either. So you see a character like 11 and you're really like, wow,
She's so good. Like, she's so subtle, but so
Again,
good.
subtle. It's I don't know. I hate it when people say things like, "Oh, this person they barely act in the thing. It must have been an easy role." I'm like, people, no, it's not. You know what I mean? It's really not because if it was so easy, anyone could do it, and quite honestly, not everyone can do it.
Yeah.
Remember these days?
I
Talk about a struggle from a bygone era.
know, right?
It's funny. You're from Vermont, and I spent some time in Vermont, and I remember seeing these big like slate quarries that look like that up there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people would go swimming around, and then I'm like, my God.
Yeah, I went with my friends one time. It wasn't that tall up, but I was too chicken to go in. I was like, yeah. I'm like, there was a really rusty like metal ladder that was kind of ingrained in the rock that looked like it could have broken at any time, and it would
Yeah.
have been hard to get out otherwise. So I was like, I'm not gonna do that. You guys enjoy. I'll just kind of stand up here.
We went to one. It was a small one, but even so, when I jumped off, it's weird because you jump and you're falling, and there reaches a point where you're all right. The fall should be over now. It's time to hit the water, and you're still going. You're still falling, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh shit, this is high up. And then we have. It just sucks. I love that guy. I know he was only on
Yeah, he was so nice.
screen for like a second, but like a few minutes. But
Well, see, the funny thing is, I'm like,
well, didn't you read something you were telling me that they did this to kind of play against expectations?
oh well, yeah.
Because you see that scene with him and her, you're thinking, oh, she's this sweet little girl. She finds
Mm-hmm.
this big, strong, burly guy, and he takes her in and helps her out, looks out for her, and then she ultimately protects him and this and that. That was kind of the vibe they were going with. And then he just gets popped, and it's like, oh shit, nope, never mind. Which is kind of cool. Well, it's not cool that he got shot, but for how much this show feels like something out of the '80s, something that we've seen. I like how it still does things a little differently too. Like it's not completely predictable.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely going down the list and checking off the boxes. For this kind of genre, but not at the expense of originality in and of itself. It's still doing something for itself.
It's such an awkward way. Like, I'm like, did he actually think? Like, did he not recognize him? Like,
I don't know.
it's like
Well, I
he's
mean, you
gonna.
see someone just kind of moving in your house really quick, and it's like you
I
can
guess
kind of
yeah.
react. That and something tells me he's not really in these kids' lives all that much. So
Yeah.
I'm sure there are expanses of time in between.
Yeah.
God, every time I see that poster, it's
I
just
know.
like it's like nostalgia porn. I'm just like, oh, damn. God, look at those big doughy eyes she has.
I know.
Get that shit out of my face. Woo. Like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, girl.
I love the little nosebleed they give her. It's like that little like tell.
Mm-hmm.
I always like when they give characters who have abilities and such some kind of weird little physical quirk or whatever, whether, even if it's like a movement or emotion that kind of indicates, the power somehow, especially with someone like her who's got telekinesis where you don't actually see it, you see the result of it. But I liked how you see it kind of take some kind of physical toll on her. It's funny too. We go to like Halloween stores now because we're recording this in October of 2017, and now that there are Stranger Things costumes, and we see like the promo posters for like the Stranger Things costume like on the outside windows, and it's a girl wearing a blonde wig, which she later on in the series she'll wear as a disguise with a little like trickle of blood coming down her nose. I'm just like, wow. It's incredible to think just how big this show became. And now it's so ingrained in pop culture already. I mean, the '80s were already starting to make a comeback in terms of like interest and popularity, but I really think this show is responsible for making it as big as it is right now. Like this, it basically I think sped up the process because everything kind of comes back in waves, and I think the '80s were old enough where they were starting to come back, but I think this show just really just hit fast forward. And now it's like everything about the '80s seems like it's popular again, not in an ironic fashion. Even the
Yeah.
music, all like the synth stuff.
Well, I think a lot of that's thanks to this, but
Well, that's what I'm saying, but it's no longer ironic. It's
yeah.
like legit. Like '80s synth is like cool again, and I like how it actually is like '80s synth. It's not just like it's like using modern stuff to kind of do a variation of it. It's like no, it's like legit. I don't know. I'm happy. I've always loved the '80s. Even when it wasn't popular. I like how naturally they would assume that it might be Will.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. I like how he gets roped into all this. He's looking for someone completely different,
Mm-hmm.
and it leads him to Eleven, and by and large, this whole conspiracy that's happening.
Can't believe she gets her own landline.
That was a big deal growing up. Like
Mm-hmm.
kids they could get their own line, and that was a big trust thing. And it's just so funny because now kids
Oh
automatically
yeah.
have their own line. They have a cell phone, so it's just using Will for that.
I know
That's
that's a
terrible.
pretty
I
terrible.
know that is a douchey move. It's like it's clever, it's good timing, but I'm just like, oh, everyone's going shameless. Look, I thought she always looks so uncomfortable.
I know.
I'm kind of wondering, was that her direction, or there maybe because she's so young,
Yeah.
they just kind of let the camera, basically just leave a camera on her the whole time, and just let her just do her thing, and then they just kind of mine from it what they need. I love that in the background.
That's so good.
implying, though. So that's probably how.
11 got out.
Yep. It sounds like a dumb thing to point out, but it's always interesting when I see how. Oh, it's funny. I don't know if you know. It looks like there's a light up in the tree.
Mm-hmm.
I think they might have just left it in there by accident or got in the shot. Oh, it was just ironic because I was just gonna talk about how you light night scenes because with a lot of times the way they used to do it was you would have like a lot of like directional light, it create kind of a spooky light, but it's one of those things where it's like, where does that light really realistically come from? Nowadays, when they light night scenes, they do it better where it's more like even light. So yes, realistically, it's too bright, but it's kind of like for our eyes, they need to like lighten up the whole like forest so we can actually legitimately see. Because except for the flashlights, you wouldn't see shit out there. But it's the thing I notice when I watch movies now. I always see like how the directors like how they light a night scene in a forest. Yeah, no shit.
Now they're scared more because you might use your Yoda powers.
That's so sad, though, if you
I
think
know.
about it. Yep. Yeah, I never got into that.
That's
We
gross.
never did a spit thing. I remember a few times people were like, "Oh, let's spit check it." I'm like, "Yeah, well, we
look
can
at
just
him. He's like,
we can just
That's
shake on
nasty.
it. That's cool. Or we don't even have to do that. Like, give me I'll yeah, it's good. I'll take your word for it.
right?
Body fluids need not apply. It's funny, those glasses are now coming back.
Mm-hmm.
My mom had those glasses for years.
My mom did too.
She didn't update till like the mid 2000s. It was so weird when I finally saw her with like thin wireframe glasses because she had glasses like that. Yeah, it's like the mid 2000s, and it was always normal to me. I just and then I was like walking around. I would see the people with glasses. Like, yeah, I guess that's not normal. But now hipsters wear glasses like that.
That's just such a shitty position to put her in.
I know. Yeah, she's gonna feel guilty for it later too. That's a big ass house. Damn.
Looks like a barn.
I was gonna say it looks like a converted barn. Honestly, I'm wondering, is that what it is?
I don't know. Yeah, the whole thing is just weird. This whole... I mean, I know they're trying to make him look like the douchebag he is, but...
Well, I heard initially when they... I mean, slightly spoiler alert, like, there'll be something of a interesting character arc for his character. But I know initially when they were writing him, they were really just writing just kind of your cliche 80s douchebag boyfriend, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess the actor, they said, was so nice, and they all just kind of fell in love with the actor who plays him. They got along with him so well that they didn't want to just write him out or write him off either, for that matter. So they kind of reworked his character a little bit to A, to keep him in the series for the whole time, and B, make him more relevant than just being a douchebag.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just interesting too, And I think that's the kind of stuff that happens when you have these smaller productions where it's really more of like a tight-knit group. Where when you have really big studio productions, it's kind of like everything is calculated right down to the wire. So it's like, hey, if the script says you're dead by page blah blah blah, you're dead by page blah blah blah, no matter how well you get along with everybody. I mean, the irony is now this show is a big deal, but I kind of think because it has its humble beginnings, it's... I love how it kind of shows that he probably he hooks up with people because he doesn't really want to be alone.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really want to make a connection with someone. He just essentially kind of wants a warm body. You know what I mean? Someone to kind of lose himself in. on the surface, I mean, it makes him look kind of like a player a little bit, but you realize kind of how sad that is. Like he just
No.
people who have gone through shit. I know a lot. They said a lot of times the hardest points for them are uh, the moments where they're by themselves. You know what I mean? And they'll try to fill those moments with people. Just even if it's not really company they want, it's more or less the company they crave itself because they just don't want to be by themselves. I love how they're using D&D to kind of explain,
I know.
and it's genius though because it's done it works. It single-handedly explains. Okay. It explains what's going on, and actually explains D&D to people too a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I love this. Again, none of these things are actually what they are from Dungeons and Dragons, but I
Yeah.
like how they kind of created this whole other world as a parallel to it. So basically, by understanding this game that these nerds that play, they have a better understanding of actually what's going on
Mm-hmm.
than really even the people studying it. That's kind of the irony, and I think that's kind of the charm of this too. The idea of like because kids have greater imaginations and are more open to the possibility of kind of the unbelievable, they're able to kind of maybe understand something, not because they have a more intellectual understanding of it, but because they're more willing to accept what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Whereas an adult, even if they're seeing the exact same thing, they would try to reason it as something else. They wouldn't allow themselves to just accept what it is potentially and kind of just chase their own tail, trying to make it something that they feel is more logical rather than what it actually is. Whereas kids are just like, hey, there's monsters out there, and, okay, it's scary, but why not, right? Yeah, we can accept, we can buy monsters, we can do that. Whereas an adult, like, no, 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 it's got to be something else. So, like, that's also part of the fun of having kids be your primary protagonists.
I like how it's not just a pool; it's a heated pool. I'm assuming, anyways, by the way the steam's like
Why?
classic
Why?
douchebag. Look, I'm so cool. I can drink this whole can at once.
Why would you drink? It's like, yeah, is it? Well, and I wonder when she says that is that the show being meta,
I know.
like being aware of itself, like oh look he's the cliche douchebag, like he's drinking, he's smoking, it's like, and she's basically saying yeah.
See, I would be Barb in this situation.
I would be Barb in the situation too. I was never one of these kids.
Except I would have been like, if you want to go, go. I'm not going with you.
It's so funny. Like I was never like cool in high school. I was
Right.
always that weird loner kid who wore all black, big black Janko jeans, and like just listen to Korn. I didn't
feel
become
you,
cool until I
Barb.
went to college.
I don't think I ever became cool.
Oh no, I
but-
became cool. I became like I became the coolest guy in college because they'd all want to like, hey, you want to hang out and go to movie night? I would, but instead I'm gonna go over to this girl's house and I'm just gonna stay there for 3 days. You sure? Yeah, I'm gonna do that instead. Bye. I was me in college. Ooh. Ow.
Yep. Look, this is all your fault. You and your stupid sex drive.
I don't know. I'm looking at Barb, and I'm feeling Barb.
I know, right?
Like she's got. No, shut up. I'm not gonna say this because I forget that the douchebag. That actress is probably like 13 or like 15 or 16 or something. No, I'm
It's
just
funny
saying.
because she looks way older. She
Well,
looks even older than all these
Yeah,
guys.
well, I'm just saying when I was her age, if I was her age now, I would pursue her as opposed to the other two girls there. Okay? Me now at like 30 something is not going to pursue her. So
Oh my god.
I feel I need to just lay that out very clearly. Whenever I say stuff like that, it's always in reference to me at that age.
Yeah.
Okay? What's I love too when you have characters who have like a hobby that becomes useful for something. Like obviously he's taking a lot of pictures, and maybe just maybe he might capture something on those pictures.
Yeah.
God, that'd be so eerie.
Oh, I know.
To hear something like that on the phone. Disembodied voices or sounds are always, I think, one of the most kind of like unnerving things you can do in movies, because it's like to not see something where something's coming from. Ooh. God. Winona's killing it, man. Like,
I know.
you buy it too. Like, God, that poor woman. Jeez.
So apparently Barb is 20, by the way, the actress.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. Well, that's probably why she looks as old as she does.
Yeah. I don't know how old the other one is, but...
Okay, well, she's still a little too young for me, but at least I'm not, like, going to go to jail, I guess, per se. Well, that's the irony. I guess if I was, like, 15, 16, she'd be too old for me then.
Yeah.
So you see? You see? It's okay.
That would be so scary.
Oh, I know. Well, just imagine being in this house like this with something... Oh, my God. Oh, it's so creepy. Just thinking about it. Like, we're sitting in our living room right now with our lights on, and I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, oh, that's so creepy.
Yeah, I know. Nancy's also 20. Or Natalia, who plays Nancy.
Jaws poster, I never noticed that. It's so strange because if this was my room, there'd be just some dark, weird shit coming out of like my boombox. It wouldn't be this. It would be like freaking like, it'd be like death metal or like gothic metal or doom metal coming out of this. You'd hear like either, oh, there it is. Look at that.
And it's also the fucking sound. I'm like,
I know.
Jesus. Seriously, where's your dog?
The dog probably got the hell out of there a long time ago. The dog would be able to sense this shit. He'd be like, no.
Unless the Demogorgon got it.
I think the dog probably was like, you know what? I'll take my chances as a stray. Yeah, that was my room. You'd hear like Behemoth playing in there or something. Dimmu Borgir. It'd be like scary or something. You know, maybe we can go a little lighter. Maybe some go gothic. Have a moon spell or something playing.
No.
That is ballsy of her to do that, though.
Which one?
Her mom to go back in there. That shows you know
yeah.
how much she loves her.
Sorry, the scene just changed.
Oh yeah,
what?
She is ballsy.
For
drying off her hair that way.
In a pool. No. I want to get fucked.
You see,
Again, that's shitty.
I've been on both sides of this though, so it's like, okay, I get it. You're not into something, but like doesn't mean I can't go for it. But at the same time, you did drag her there.
Yeah. then again, obviously, that's why, spoiler alert, what happens.
Yeah.
It makes her very guilty.
I don't know. I was more Nancy in high school, but then in college, I was kind of the flip. But see, that's the thing. In college, I didn't drag my friends to the situation they didn't want to go. Like, I was very... When it came to, like, my pursuits, I was kind of more of a loner in college. Like, yeah, I'll do my own thing. I always kind of kept my time with the ladies separate from my friends. It was kind of like, I don't know. Wow. Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
He just bursts out laughing. She cries.
Wah, wah. Talk about defying expectations. So he walked over there a little too fast.
Yeah.
He was kind of just kind of slowly, more kind of...
Also, apparently, nobody shuts their blinds.
Of course not.
How will the creepers watch?
But then again, what are the odds of, like, a guy out there with like, a freaking, like,
in the
high-powered
fucking
lens?
Forest. Poor Barb. I would have just left.
Yeah, but she's a good friend.
I know,
You know,
that's
she
what
doesn't
makes
want to
it
abandon
worse.
her. It's like, that's a good friend right there. Probably a better friend than I would be. If that was her, she'd be like, all right, peace. I'm going home.
I know.
You just feel bad for her already because you know
Mm-hmm.
some shit is going to go down. The literal and metaphorical blood in the water. Oh, that's awesome.
Fucking shadow
Ooh.
and shit.
You get your first kind of glimpse. It's funny, now that we've seen the Demogorgon in like its full light, obviously because we watched this already, we know what that is, but when you first see that, like, wait, what was that?
I know. It's hard to see.
I know.
Oh boy, let's make out.
Again, I love how they use the lights. It's like, you know, when the lights are on, everything's fine. When they kind of go out, it's like trouble. But anyway, that was episode 2, and we'll catch you guys on, or chapter 2, and we'll catch you guys again on chapter 3. Peace!
Peace.